every so often you've got to bite the bullet, and I think it comes down to it. I've got to deal with Dan Wootton, the man who could spin a yarn about Starmer's sandwich choices and somehow link them to a global left-wing conspiracy. So I'd like to break down a few of his recent videos, because he's on YouTube. You can switch him on, you can switch him off as you like. And Wootton, I don't know whether you're familiar with him, with his bombastic style that he used to sort of peddle on GB News. Well, it's still there, undiminished, except his audience has got significantly smaller. And maybe it's just cold. And he's decided to give Starmer the sort of treatment he normally reserves for Prince Harry, though Prince Harry used to be, I think, his friend, declaring that the Labour leader is facing an early downfall akin to the disgraced royal, the exiled royal, the royal who has fallen out of Starmer's blessing, out of, not Starmer's blessing, Wootton's blessing, out of the realm of Wootton's empire. Well, Wootton's empire is getting very small. The source of his venom this time? I suppose he's sitting there in the Ned, stoking up another gin and tonic. Starmer's alleged shady dealings with Lord Ali's luxury penthouse and his hypocrisy during the pandemic. Apparently Starmer's biggest crime wasn't just staying in a fancy flat, putting his son in a fancy flat, but daring to put up family photos to make it look like his own home during a lockdown video. You'd think he'd been caught hosting raves or parties in number 10. Oh, wait, sorry. Wrong one. Of course, Wootton isn't the only one to let facts get in the way of a good narrative. Guido Fawkes is hailed as the brave journalist by Wootton, leading the charge on this scandal, while the mainstream media is supposedly sitting in silence, except they're not. Wootton seems perplexed that actual journalists are more interested in government corruption than indulging his latest crusade against champagne socialists, whoever they may be. As for Keir Starmer being likened to Prince Andrew territory by the end of the year, well, that's a bit of a stretch even for Wootton. Surely even in Wootton's fever dream we can differentiate between renting a flat and, well, other types of renting. Wootton, never shy to bring in an analogy or two, ends up comparing Starmer's aides to comical Ali. That's a reference as dated as it is tiresome. And then, of course, he goes on about Carol Vorderman and James O'Brien being accused of being Labour shrills, which feels a bit like calling a teapot, well, very British. Of course it is. And of course James O'Brien is going to be outspoken. That's his job. Wootton's disdain for anyone vaguely left-leaning is matched only by his thinly veiled admiration for Nigel Farage, who in Wootton's eyes can do no wrong like Lawrence Fox. Farage could probably announce he's running for emperor, and Dan would be there cheering with pom-poms and paving the way by licking the pavement. It's hard not to chuckle at Wootton's consistent pretense that he's the last bastion of unbiased journalism. This from the man who, lest we forget, has more legal cases hanging over him than Boris Johnson had illegal lockdown parties. And let's not overlook the other favourite pastime, complaining about the BBC. Wootton can't resist taking a pop at Question Time, lamenting its audiences as filled with Labour supporters, which, if true, is surely just a reflection of the actual electoral landscape. But in Wootton's world, the BBC is a left-wing propaganda machine rather than the actual issue, which is, of course, Wootton's personal vendetta over anything that doesn't worship at the altar of Brexit. And here's the irony. Dan Wootton, a man who built his career on salacious gossip and scandals, is now lecturing us about journalistic integrity, coming from the guy who was once at the centre of the News of the World phone hacking scandal. It's like hearing a fox complain about the state of the chicken coop. And this says nothing about Dan Wootton's alleged interest in photography. All in all, his latest offering is peak Dan Wootton. Hyperbole, drama, a sprinkling of paranoia for good measure, and the exhibition of very impressive teeth. He's no doubt delighted to be front and centre of his own echo chamber, blissfully ignoring reality in favour of a world where he, Farage, Trump, save Britain from the looming menace of left-wing decency. But it's tiresome. I don't mean this as a promotion for Dan Wootton's show, by the way.